Ladies and gentlemen, good to see you again. It is me, the RWG, back again on the Bunka with more Bunka news. The place where we celebrate and educate about digital and internet culture. Although on this occasion, things are a bit different because we're only going to cover one story in this video because it's a big one. Metaphorical mud throwing has got nasty in the fighting game community at the start of June. Their biggest fighting game tournament, EVO, short for Evolution, is one of the most important events of the year, keeping the fighting game community alive. In fact, it's one of the original oldest video game tournaments as well, which makes what I'm going to say next extra sad news. Fighting games have been having strange growing pains lately. In fact, it's been having them for a long time now. Trying to make games more accessible for new players while not losing the heart of what makes a fighting game at the same time. Their attempts to make the EVO tournament gathering be taken more seriously, while other painfully overfunded and overrated tournaments don't have any of these problems, like MOBAs, like League, Dota, you know the drill. Making weird decisions like cutting a live Dead or Alive broadcast for, let's just say, not being wholesome enough, and letting a player in a fighting game final switch sides, disrupting the flow of the match and the other player. In a final, something previously never even seen. But all of that is nothing compared to this. This is an occasion of, can they even recover from this? Levels of a big deal. The short answer is yes, but it will not be the same community once it comes out the other side of this. So, let's get into the details. First, we had the COVID virus that appeared in 2020. This made all big social gatherings for the majority of 2020 dangerous for people's health at best. A lot of events were cancelled, and EVO was no exception. However, some bright spark thought it would be a good idea to turn what was previously two people playing on the same console into an online tournament instead. Not only is playing fighting games online a very different experience psychologically to doing it at an event, but it was not long after this that the EVO organisers were forced to face something they've probably ignored for more than a decade at this point. Most fighting game netcodes play like shit. It's a downside to having something so based on reactions because it leaves you with little to no margin for error when you're trying to run that through an internet connection. I'm talking down to the correct frame of animation inside 1 second in some cases. It's a problem other genres like first-person shooters just don't have, or at least they're better at hiding it. I'm looking at you, Sniper Jules, where you both shoot at the same time, but the game decides that you're the one who died and your shots act like they never fired because your PC and your internet is slightly less good than the other guys. But I'm getting off track here. EVO's solution next to this problem was to cancel all tournaments for any game where they believed the netcode was not good enough, whatever that vague concept means, and replace them with games which did have good netcodes, such as Smash Bros getting taken out, Skullgirls getting put in. So everything was starting to look like they were making lemonade out of the lemons that was 2020, and they'd pull through, right? But then this latest news happened. Sorry in advance if I butcher these names, but here we go. Keitaro, D1, Nairo, and Sinope, all members of the professional Nintendo Smash Bros community, have all been accused of sexual assault, and in some cases that includes assault on minors. Now I need to remind you that EVO had already cancelled the Smash Bros tournament before this came to light, but this is still not a good look. For the longest time, the fighting game community never even considered Smash Bros to be a fighting game, openly mocking it, often on the internet to the point of it becoming a meme. Even after years of trying, when Smash finally started appearing at EVO, the mocking didn't stop, often calling Smash players basically ugly, disgusting, smelly, socially inept, inferior human beings. There's all kinds of memes about it, there's some truth to it possibly, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, you could almost call it discrimination. So not only do Smash players have to contend with all these memes mocking them? Now they have a story like this to deal with as well. It makes it more socially shameful to be a Smash Bros player, and it also hurts the Nintendo brand. And I don't even like Nintendo that much, but I can see this for what it is. So this is already pretty bad stuff, right? But wait, there's more. In yet another twist to add to the series of gut punches to the fighting game community that have already happened, Evo Evolution co-founder Mr. Wiz, aka Joey Swiller, sorry if I pronounced the surname wrong there, has been accused and confessed to the sexual assault of minors. What this has done is cause a massive rift in the fighting game community. This drama has tainted both the Smash Bros and the Evo fighting game tournament brand. Already, every major fighting game manufacturer has distanced themselves from Evo until they sort themselves out, and no doubt several people get fired. In fact, Mr. Wiz has already been replaced, and they're already going into serious damage control with the Evo brand, replaced by someone who used to work at Riot Games, which rings a few red flags for me, because Riot has its own set of skeletons in their closet, but here's hoping that doesn't become a whole new set of drama. But anyway, with all this happening, it's important to remember we're currently living in some crazy as hell times. I'm not saying with 100% confidence what has happened here, because it's so easy in this day and age to claim anyone has committed sexual assault without concrete evidence. And it's also happened before. Pro Jared, Angry Joe, and Vic Monjana to be even just 3 examples of trying to ruin a man's career before an official investigation has even started. All you need is a fan club big enough, and they will back you up on anything you say on the internet. The court of public opinion is not reliable. It plays judge, jury, and executioner without trial or even verifying if evidence given is true. It's like a modern day version of a witch hunt, if I'm perfectly honest. The only real difference being, now you don't kill or burn the witch, because that crazy idea would be illegal. And besides, if you're lucky, maybe if you ruin their life enough, they'll kill themselves for you, right? I'm sorry how dark and messed up all that sounds, but it's the reality of the situation, because it's happened before. And the longer we close our eyes and put our fingers in our ears, the more stories like this we will get. Using sexual allegations like your plain Boy Who Cried Wolf, which I can't believe I'm saying this, if you don't know what that is, you should Google it, is often done by people with small reputations, with more to gain than to lose, since there's often no real big punishment for lying about being abused. Not to mention that selfish bullshit then casts doubt onto actual victims of abuse. It would be a beautiful, wonderful world if we could just trust 100% what everyone says, but that's just not how human beings are and will always be that way. Nothing I'm saying is controversial if you're a well-adjusted adult. If you haven't been burning or deleting all records of them lately, history, culture, and our favourite stories have proven human nature's tendency to lie again and again and again and again 1,000-fold times. I don't want to make this video too personal, but I feel it's needed to get my point across. I've loved the fighting game community in the past. I'm angry about the fighting game community now, but I've also felt that way for a long time. Like way before 2020. Since the internet has proven it's pretty terrible at this, I'm making it clear right now, what I'm saying mostly next is based on opinions from my own personal experiences. The problem fighting games have always had since their time way back in the arcades is sometimes it can take a lot of dedication to make even small progress. Not to mention the discipline to even notice when you've improved. It's a very strange problem, which I find it hard to spot anything quite the same as it in other mediums of games. And no doubt other people are going to disagree with me, but hey, name me another kind of video game where you have to memorize frame data. Oh wait. To find the best analogy I can think of when it comes to learning a fighting game, imagine you're in a fight, but you're in someone else's body, and until it becomes second nature, controlling it often feels like you're learning a musical instrument. It all becomes like a battle with yourself until you reach that gaming nirvana of your character of choice just feeling like an extension of yourself. It's what keeps people coming back to fighting games, and that's before I even talk about all the psychology happening when you play against another human, which is even more complicated. If you play and devote yourself enough, every character flaw you have, both the character in the game and yourself as a human being, will be tested at some point, and you won't have any team to blame for your failures like on other video games when the worst moments happen. To say egos get hurt is an understatement. So is it any surprise really so many find fighting games hard to get into? But let's get this video focused more back on topic. In 2020, no, in fact for some time now, at least 10 years, most likely more, video games with multiplayer have lived or died based on the community. Community becomes a valuable resource for the game devs to improve their game even more based on feedback, but also because humans add a random element to games that no AI bot can possibly do. This, in theory, creates a near endless number of possibilities for new experiences between players. It's that same human random element which is why traditional sports and games have stayed almost unchanged for decades or even centuries. Community for a game has some interesting effects on marketing too. I'm talking things like the more people who play your game, the more suddenly being good at that game has value. And I'm not saying that professional players are the most important people. What I am saying is the more people that play your game, the more important those people become. But the entire ecosystem of a community for a game is still all incredibly important. I love the majority of fighting games. I want the majority of fighting games to succeed. I also want to be more than competent at those fighting games. But I know that is physically not possible because the amount of dedication it requires to be good at even one of them, let alone all the ones that are currently popular right now. Sometimes devotion can reach, dare I say it, religious levels, which is both a good and a bad thing. It gives extra meaning to people's lives, it gives people a common ground in order to form friendships, much like more traditional sports. But maybe more troubling, both in the fighting game community, but also all kinds of communities really, is when your level of devotion gets that high, you basically become like a unpaid volunteer employee to whatever company that made your game of choice. So why am I saying all this? Because much like religion, yes, I'm sorry I have to go there, fighting game communities get divided up and are sometimes even openly hostile to other groups. And you will find no better example of this than all the memes about the Smash community often treating them like outsiders. I have a sneaky suspicion that the bad news about the Smash players, and then as a consequence of that, the whole Evo tournament, was like an escalation. You made the Smash players look bad, so now we're going to show you that that wonderful community that you claim is better than ours isn't as good as you say it is. Coupled with the fact that victims felt safe, since this was already the topic of conversation, to finally speak out also. You keep my secret, I'll keep yours. But this is all pure speculation. I'm just going by what I've seen and patterns I've seen in the past. The point is, all that really matters is it's out there in the wild now, and we need to do better, and everyone needs to kind of come back from this. I guess the best we can ever possibly hope for is Having a fighting game that's so popular that people just keep playing it for decades and decades to come. And we kind of already have that. But the problem video games have is they're always trying to market the next big thing because they don't know how to monetize something that's already been out for years without kind of destroying the integrity of the game. Plus the fact that what tends to happen is you'll get players who are incredibly good at the game, who've been playing it for years, but by that very nature, that then makes the game feel almost like impenetrable for new people. Like you have to work your ass off to get competent and then have anyone you can play against who you have a chance in hell of even competing with. And I'm not just talking about on a professional level, I'm just talking in general here. I wish I knew a solution to this, but this is not my problem to solve. And I probably should have stopped rambling ages ago. I just wanted to make it clear that I really love the fighting game scene, even though I'm in a bit of a love-hate relationship with it myself right now. But anyway, thank you for listening. This is me, the RWG of the Bunka, saying I'll see you next time.